Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Screw this nicey nice crap. This is not a stream, this is the ocean. Captain Rule is going to bring the warship from Nebraska up. We're going to sink that dinghy that PJ Fleck is captaining. We're going to take those oars and break them over your ass. Go Big Red!
45, 50, 45, 40, 35, 30. He's going to go! Holy cow!
Big Red Junkies.
Day by day, he gets better and better. He gets better and better. Even JPB, Oh, man, woman, and child, he just turned this stadium inside out.
It's fucking game week, boys.
I got my helmet on. I'm ready to go.
My pants are already wet.
My pants aren't wet yet, but they're shrinking.
They're shrinking, huh? Oh, boy. Jed is excited.
I am.
I'm excited.
Not just because the game is here, but we're going to be there.
Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Can't fucking wait.
All three of us are sitting in different places. We're very close, but you're right on the other side of the wall.
Yeah.
We're going to be very close to the field.
Yes.
I'm excited.
Well, and in that stadium, we're practically going to be on the field.
And you know what? Hopefully this time I don't have to yell at a player and make him want to come jump in the stands. Because I don't know if anybody
Or just don't do that.
Well, yeah. Maybe I was a little drunk.
It's pretty fun for me.
Maybe I was a little frustrated.
We'll have some new things to reminisce after this
Well,
week.
speaking of getting drunk here,
I didn't get my shot poured.
I mean, we might not be getting drunk, but, at least drinking.
All right. Cheers. Game week.
Go Big
Game
Red,
week,
motherfuckers.
We already did our season preview for the schedule breakdown, and we all gave our predictions on this game. We're going to go through the prop bets and all that
Who says
stuff.
it's going to be the same, though?
That's my thing. It's
At some point this year, I'm going to have to change some answers.
yeah, you think? It's just like what
Especially
Elijah
you.
said.
I was feeling a little good last week with my
No shit.
obnoxious pick.
I feel like he was still here when the Minnesota pick happened, but I don't know by about Illinois game.
I remember picking all of them, but I don't remember coming up with that total.
No,
Yeah.
it was more you were just looking at the games individually by
Yes,
themselves.
100%.
You were not calculating them as you went along. You were just this game, and this is what I'm picking.
Yeah.
Now, my pick from last week to this week is not changing. I think Nebraska has a pretty good shot this week.
Well, we'll get to that at the end of the show.
Oh, well, fine. Jump around.
Why don't you fire us off, Jed? You typically have some sort of obscure, weird, funny fact about the other school.
Well, I did not get to a funny fact. It was kind of interesting. I did read a little bit of that. Elijah was pimping the last Hail Varsity magazine. Came out, and all of the breakdowns that Brandon Vogel did in that.
Was it good?
It was really good. I mean, I haven't read the entire thing, but going through the Minnesota one, it was very good. It had a lot of great information in it. I look forward. I'm definitely going to be using that especially in the first part of the year when we're still
Honestly,
learning
everything's
about
going to
these
change
teams.
so
Yeah.
much by midseason.
Yeah, but still, I'm definitely using that specifically next week for Colorado, and even then, no disrespect to Brandon Vogel and his preview, the Colorado roster changes by the minute, so that could be wrong too. So, but
They have
still,
84 new players or something? this year?
basically, yeah. I mean, it's what did the graphic say the other day when we were texting? Colorado has 3 returning starters and 9 scholarship players.
Dion did say he was going to break records.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it to be this way.
Yeah, but let's talk about Colorado next week.
Yeah.
So Minnesota has won 9 games the last 2 seasons. The last time that they won 3 straight 9-win seasons was 118 years ago.
Jesus Christ. Are you serious?
I didn't even know they existed 118 years ago.
So
Well, dude, they have 5 natties from
in the 40s,
modern
in the
era?
40s and stuff. Yeah,
They used to be they had an era where they were what Nebraska football used to be.
this was before
They were
professional
really
sports up
good.
there. That was
But
the
they
big
didn't even
thing.
have 3 9-win seasons in a row then.
Nope.
Were they just not playing 9 games?
I'll look up their records from back then.
That's fucking crazy. To think, well, just to think, based on the stuff that I'm going to be dead honest. I haven't done a bunch of diving into 80-year-old Minnesota schedules and records.
Probably because nobody cares.
Yeah, they don't have any trophies that haven't fallen apart at this point. But
Or 1,000 pounds of dust on them and stuff.
yeah, I don't know where they would keep those.
Yeah.
Under the stadium? I don't even know.
Well, which stadium? Because they have a
They weren't there.
they have a relatively new one. So
Wasn't this Minnesota stadium finished not long before the Superdome collapsed? 'Cause wasn't it reasonably new? when
they
the
were
Vikings had to
working
play
on
some?
it. So
Okay.
well, no, he did get finished because Minnesota had to move over to that stadium.
Yeah, the Vikings had to
but
come
it had
play.
just opened.
Yeah, but was the whole stadium new at that point, or was that just renovations that happened?
Oh no, it was new because Minnesota used to play in the Metrodome.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Because I remember watching. Oh, what was that playoff game that Green Bay was in Minnesota for that game, and it was like -4 degrees at game time. It was disgusting, and Minnesota's kicker fucked it up like 3 different times.
Oh, I'm sure.
He was a big old fat boy too. I don't know what he was. I don't know. I remember what his name was or who he was, but
If I had a year to go off of, that would help.
I mean, this would have been 2015, 16, something like that. It wasn't that long ago.
So
I don't know.
They won 34, 35, and 36 national titles. And so their records, they had 8, 8, and 7 wins. They went 8-0, 8-0, and 7-1.
So they just weren't playing that many games.
I guess not. Yeah.
Just out there claiming titles, playing half seasons.
So yeah,
Got it.
The war really fucked them up then, huh?
Yeah. Jesus.
Wow. Wow, Matt just uncovered some dirty dish on Minnesota.
Went to World
Wow.
War II, and the university was never the same.
Jesus.
It's kind of weird that in the early 1900s, like 1905, 1904, 1903, they were playing 11 and 13 games.
And they
then,
backed it off?
And then 30 years later, they're playing 7 or 8.
That is very odd.
Okay.
I don't have any knowledge behind this, but it might have actually been because of the state of the world.
Probably, but even for a long time, they're only playing
Effective.
7 or 8 games. I'm looking at all these.
Were they only playing conference games or what?
I'm just looking at records. I'm not looking at schedules. But
Let's
they
get
had a
back to
real-
something that actually fucking matters.
yeah, let's fast forward 100 years.
So
118 years.
That was a sad trombone of statistic on Minnesota.
Well, I mean, it is
but
fun because you can laugh at them. Because it's
Yeah.
been 118 years since they've had 3
It feels
straight
like it's been
9-win
118
seasons.
years since we've won 9 games at Nebraska.
No, it was literally
I know.
Mike Riley's second year.
I know. But it's been forever, man.
also
It's
makes
been
me-
way too fucking long. So, I mean,
Or at least consistently.
Yeah, consistently, for sure.
We did have the one with Mike Riley, but consistently.
As much as
that was
I
a
wanna,
fucking fluke 9-win season anyway.
as much
But they
as
did
I want
it.
to make
I mean,
fun of the
it's-
Gophers.
They did do it. And we
It's-
haven't
it's
been
not
back
a-
to a bowl game since.
Yeah, that's the thing. We've had one in a long time, and everybody wants to call it a fluke. No, they fucking did it. Like, give them credit.
Yeah, whatever. I don't care. I don't want to talk about 7 years ago.
Oh, wow, I'm just
I want to talk about what the fuck's going to happen in 3 days up in Minnesota. Because we're going to be there. It's going to be a hell of a good time.
we're gonna be breaking some oars over some asses.
and
I hope
my
so.
pants are wet again.
I hope so. I fucking hope so. Like we said, we gave our predictions in the schedule breakdown. I kind of went against the grain. I went against my normal positivity, and I made the comment.
I was surprised. I was very surprised.
I feel like this is going to be a let the wind out of the sails and bring things back down to earth a little bit.
I hear a change coming.
Changing the wind
I don't
of
know.
the sails.
I'm going to have to talk through this show in order to figure out if I actually stand by that or not. Because I was rewatching the show the other day.
Is
and I
the
was like,
current of the water underneath the boat changing?
yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to see how you convince me.
There's
through
also
some of
only
the
so
questions.
many boat puns I'm going to handle
Yeah.
before I'm going to
No,
jump on
yeah.
the field myself.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
we've already been up there for a game. You know that those boat puns and oars and all
So
that other
much.
crap happen
So
all
much.
the time during
And
those games.
PJ Fleck is just slappable.
Yeah.
But it's beside the point.
Sold out, gold out. Ugh, what a goober.
That's a wild one.
He is such a goober. I watched that press conference the other day, man.
They've never had a sold-out, gold-out game against Nebraska.
Well, apparently it
Fuck
is
off.
this Thursday.
Well, yeah, it's quote unquote sold out, but you can still buy tickets in the lower bowl for less than $100.
Well, yeah, but that'd be third market.
Yeah, they're all second. They're all second.
That doesn't mean it's not sold out. I mean, the tickets are sold.
They're all sold out.
Yeah,
doesn't mean it's
sold
all
out for a long
gold.
time too.
doesn't mean it's all gold. Is what my point is. Tickets are still available.
Yeah.
Nebraska fans are still going to be there strong.
Oh yeah,
Minnesota was supposed to be better than they are supposed to be this year. The last time we were up there, and it was still a quarter red.
Mm-hmm.
So they can fuck off on all that, and I hope we show up strong. Matt Rule's kickoff game, I feel like it's going to be a lot of Nebraska fans. I know a lot of people going up. I know you know a lot of people going up.
it's an easy drive.
Shit, dude, Bassino, did you hear about Bassino?
No,
They bought 20 tickets in a row.
damn.
What the fuck? There are 20 or 21 tickets. It's a bunch of cousins and family and
Yeah, I'm sure they'll all
bunch
be
of
wearing
friends
gold.
and stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, I have to laugh when I hear it. Like, I personally, like, between the three of us, we probably know over 100 people going up for the game.
Probably.
Now, that's not a shit ton of people, but
No, but-
we're just three dudes.
Yeah.
Come on.
Like, that's not a lot.
This is the most exciting game to go to since Scott Frost's first game.
Yes.
I mean, there were some exciting games.
And again,
in
the fact that it's
Frost
an
era.
easy drive.
This is the most anticipated game to go to since Scott Frost's first game.
I would disagree with that because there were several Scott Frost games that were supposed to be anticipated as being a building moment.
Well, that's why he's saying
and they
since
weren't.
Scott Frost.
Well, since
Oh,
Scott.
I'm
Yes,
saying
there's
since his
literally
first game.
been
Yeah.
literally been 7 games.
I haven't
He's saying
been
since
so
the first game.
excited for the first game of a season since Scott Frost's first game that we didn't even get to watch
Yeah.
because it never actually happened.
Oh, and then got pretty excited for the Colorado game, but which then in turn turned out to be the first game. But
Yeah,
even that was also a road game. So
I feel like the same type of letdown is going to happen. I do right now, but like I said, I want to get through all of our questions and things. We'll see how I wind up.
Yeah.
We'll see how much of this here crown I get
You
in
know
me.
how I feel about that?
We'll see how much crown I get in me, how squirrely I get. Let's go ahead and fire into our first question.
okay, first question. I got to scroll down.
I guess we got to catch back a little bit. Do we have any other information? Anything else we need to point out on the offense or defense?
For Nebraska or for Minnesota?
I guess for both. I guess I would start off by saying the black shirts got handed out today. Mm-hmm. We kind of all went, meh, meh. It didn't really matter that much to us because it seems like, at least at a couple positions, they are too deep and they're going to roll too deep. It's whoever's getting the honor of starting that week is going to wear the black shirt.
Yep.
That's what's going to happen. It doesn't mean that MJ Sherman not getting one today doesn't mean that he's not going to be an extremely valuable member of that team.
I mean, he's listed as an or on the depth chart. So, and he's only listed at second, at least on the depth chart, because anybody that has an or next to it, it was just literally listed in alphabetical order. So it's like, relax. Everybody was freaking out. This person is below
He's
that
gonna
person and
play.
whatever. It's like, relax. I mean, you did the want, and I agree with, we talked about this earlier today via text. We don't get all up in the hoopla of the black shirts or the depth charts and all those other things. We appreciate the tradition of the black shirts and all those things, but it's like,
I fucking love the tradition.
I would much rather have them play like black shirts than whatever the jersey is. I really
about
don't
to say
care.
the exact same thing. Start playing like black
Yes.
shirts, and I'll actually give a fuck who's wearing it.
Yeah, I don't care.
But you know what? At the same time, there's been a lot. There's been so much talk about, well, how are they going to do them? And there's been these different coaches did them these different ways, and blah 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 blah. You know what it was when they were actual black shirts and we were actually a feared defense? The starting defensive players wore black. That's what they're going back to. That's what's happening. The starting defensive players wore black in practice. That was
Honestly.
the only fucking difference. The only difference between then and now, as far as the way they're doing it, is the fact that we have more than just 11 guys that can be in that starting rotation.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean we need to hand them out, but like we talked about earlier, it kind of sounds like every Monday there might be a change in that. How did you play last week? How is Cam Lenhart going to come out and fucking absolutely destroy in the Minnesota game and then not be denied the start next week? Mm-hmm.
Is Henrich going to be healthy, and then he's going to be the starter?
Is Henrich going to be healthy, who was a returning captain from last year, who's more than likely always going to be starting on the field?
And he got a single digit.
If he's healthy. And
Exactly. I was going to say, I feel like there's more in the single digit.
the guy who
awards
replaced him, though, is also a
than-
single digit.
That's my whole point.
Yeah, but
there's more to
That's nice
that.
to have
than there
three
is-
at that.
Yeah.
The black shirts is more about you're going to be out there to do your job, not necessarily you earned this shirt.
I think the one that's going to shock a lot of people is that MJ Sherman didn't get a black shirt. Both him and Chief Borders are basically playing the same position. They're going to both be on the field a lot at the same time. Maybe not for the first snap of the game to be honorary to the black shirts. But at the same time, when you look at Chief Borders and MJ Sherman, the expectation for everyone has been MJ Sherman's going to come in and wreck shop this year.
Yep.
If what the coaches are telling us is Chief Borders is equally as talented on the field as MJ Sherman.
Chief Borders wasn't a scrub coming in here.
No, he
transferring
wasn't,
from Florida,
but he wasn't nearly as highly touted.
Well, no, but
and you know how
he wasn't a
exciting
scrub
that
either,
is?
though.
And you have to look at what Chief Borders has done off the field. Rule is super into the build up your fellow man, community service and work and outreach in the community. And Chief Borders, more than anybody, from what I understand, is like he's setting up foundations. He's out in the community as much as he possibly can.
And if you're putting in the work there, you're putting in the work on the field.
Yeah. But my biggest thing is if you're going to see product that allowed him to get a black shirt over MJ Sherman, even if they're just equal on the field, he had that edge off the field, and that's why he got it. Neither one of them got single digits.
Yeah.
So, you know what? If we have two dudes back there that are doing the exact same thing we expected MJ Sherman to do,
Wet
we're
pants.
going to be happy. We're going to be real happy. You know, something I heard, though, today that I thought was really interesting. I was listening to it was basically just a national wager show, and they were breaking down the Nebraska game just because it's one of the first 4 games to talk about, you know, this week. They talked about how the one guy made the comment. He goes, you know, we just don't know how good this Nebraska defense is going to be. The 3-3-5 being in the Big Ten, we just really don't think that's going to work out. Think they're going to get gashed a lot on the run. Think that, you know, they just kind of ran through all the question marks that we had talked about way back in one of our earlier offseason shows.
All the easy things to say about the 3-3-5.
Yeah, all the things to point to on that. And I don't remember what the name of the show was. Danny Cannell is actually on it.
Cover 3 podcast.
There we go. Yeah, it was not a gambling show.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
They talk a lot of gambling on there.
And Danny Cannell was just like, you know, guys, I don't know. He goes, I think Nebraska was in such a bad spot. And they actually, I'm getting off topic here. I'm going to finish my subject. Remind me to come back to the Scott Frost comment that the guy made. But what Danny Cannell was pointing to was, we don't really know anything about this team. And they all 3 of the other guys had said, I didn't recognize any of the other guys, but all 3 of them had already made the comments about how good Rule has been in college and how he has more coming in here at Nebraska than he's ever had in any other place along the way in his college stops. And they referenced the fact that he typically punts the first year and that he's way better in year 2.
That was from today's show, right?
Well, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was
I listened to that earlier.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Did you catch the slight about the Ireland game last year?
Oh yeah, but that was Bud Elliott that said that.
He goes,
yes.
He goes, making sure
bed checks
are done not only on the players but on the coaches.
Yep.
I like it.
Yeah. I'm paraphrasing, but that's
make a
basically
phone
what
call.
he
Let's
said.
get him on the show.
It was spicy, and I was working, and I was kind of like halfway paying attention. I think I was processing payroll, and I was like, what? And I had to go back it up and listen to it again. But damn.
I kind of want to go back and I just listened to it. I kind of want to go back and watch it just to see those other guys' faces because there's Tom Fernelli.
There was no reaction.
There was no reaction. Oh, really? Okay,
no.
I didn't know. If maybe
they let it go right past. They're professionals. They're trying to, you know, they're professional. Whatever.
Yeah.
Danny Cannell was on
rude to say.
No quotation marks. They are professional. They were CBS Sports.
But I throw up the quotes in meaning that they have all the other stuff that goes along with it. Is really what I'm trying to say. I'm not questioning their professionalism.
Okay.
No, but my big thing that they really went into was they were the other 3 guys were kind of poo-pooing Nebraska, and they're really just not that talented. You look at all the FPIs out there. This is the least talented team Nebraska's going to field in the last several years. Blah blah blah. We've talked about that some, and my biggest question mark is when I look at it is it's a coin flip on most of the guys we brought in.
Yep.
A lot of them weren't good enough to start other places or were losing their starting job other places. Hadn't had a ton of experience, but were highly touted recruits at some point along the way. The big thing that they do, though, for me is they do what Rule wants them to do. They're there as the utility for Rule to use the way that he wants his guys to be. So if he was going to bring them in as a transfer, because it's like what he's talked about the last couple of press conferences. I feel like I owe some of the older guys on this team for this to not just be a shit first year like most of my other ones have been.
I thought that right away when I think it was Danny Cannell or Bud Elliott on that Cover 3 podcast show said the whole, like, Matt Rule typically punts on his first year. I'm like, okay, and what I think it was Tom Fernelli jumped in. He's like, this is a completely different scenario than what Rule is taking over now compared to what he took over before. So saying that he typically punts, it's not really the same. But also, like you were just saying, everything that Rule is talking about has no indication that he's punting on this year.
No.
So, and again, completely different scenarios.
I think a perfect example of that is he's always wanted to get the younger guys in. And the fact that he went not with...
But he's also outwardly talking about the whole thing of, like, we've got older guys on this roster that we're not going to just throw away seasons on.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is the proof is in the pudding. When he put out that depth chart, and he's already showed who's going to start on defense with giving out the black shirts, and Lenhart wasn't getting one. Mm-hmm. He's been the biggest talk the last month, basically. Yeah. And then all of a sudden he's not getting one. Is he having a bad week in practice? No, it kind of sounds like it's just because he's a freshman. He needs to prove it in the game before he's going to get a start.
And maybe Blaze Gunnarsson is just doing better.
That might be too.
And look, we don't know how good any of the players that we've had the previous years are actually at football because they just didn't want to play for Frost. It seems like a lot of them.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to play for a coach who's blowing off practice and doing who knows
and
what
fighting with his assistant coaches.
Yeah. And so you might actually see a lot of players, I mean, one particular offensive lineman, maybe, just be a completely different player this year.
That's the other thing about the FPIs that I was going to bring up is they every year those players grade out. And so some of those guys that have been higher rated or high rated recruits that Frost brought in, things like that haven't played well, they've been downgraded or been taken a grade off. Yeah. And so that really kills, like, that's why you've talked about it more than anybody else that I've heard. It doesn't matter what level. The FPIs are only as good as the numbers that are being pumped into them.
Oh, yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, they're full of shit. Like we talked about a season ago.
I think the bigger thing is that
a season ago and 2 seasons ago, it kept saying, the FPIs all said, you should be a 7 to 9 win team. You are the 34th best team in the country. Your defense,
the best
2 years
3-win
ago,
team in existence.
Well, the big thing is everybody likes to reference Nebraska has more talent than anybody else in the Big Ten West because look at their recruiting numbers. Well, cool. You can look at the recruiting numbers all you want to. And what we've brought in top 25 classes. But if you don't develop them and you don't keep them here, both of those things.
If you don't fucking coach them.
Well, that's develop. And if you don't keep them here, as in they want to stay because you're a piece of shit and they want to get the fuck out of here, then what good is a top 25 recruiting class?
It's not.
I mean, like, what did somebody say?
Like,
Quentin Newsom is one of, like, I think he's the only one that hit as a senior that came here as a high school freshman, like, that came from high school. All the other seniors are transfers.
Wow, really?
Like, he's one of maybe 2 or 3 or something like. It's a very low number. The point is, he's one of very few people that came in and is still here from his freshman year, from straight out of high school to now. So it's like, that shows you, cool, you can have all the top 25 recruiting classes you want to. If you don't coach them and you don't develop them, and they don't want to stay here, then what good are your top 25 classes?
No, you're not wrong.
That's part of the whole FPI thing. You're pumping in these numbers of what your talent supposedly is. Well, there's a reason why we have the most talent as far as recruiting classes, but we're constantly on the bottom of the standings at the end of the season. So I think
we're going to see a big change this year. At least I hope we see a big change this year, and players are going to show us a different side than we've seen before.
So I had a guy today at work. We were kind of talking about some Nebraska stuff, and he was like, "We have to go to a bowl game this year. If he doesn't go to a bowl game this year, then there's problems."
He sounds like a Husker fan.
No, absolutely. But I was trying to tell him, I was like. And this is one of the reasons why I say I'm not putting expectations on this season. I'll make predictions. I'm not putting expectations. Of course, do I want to go to a bowl game? Of course. Do I think that we have the potential to go to a bowl game? Yes, I do.
If we go 11-1 and don't make a bowl, I'm going to be pretty upset.
But it's like,
Sounds like he's sticking to it.
if we go 5-7 and we look good, I'm not going to be. I mean, I struggle with saying I'm not going to be pissed because it's still 5-7 and under 500 record. All
I have
those things.
one metric for that.
It's
close
just-
losses.
It's a paradoxical statement that you're making. If we go 5-7, but we still look good, there's no way we're going to go 5-7 and still look good with the schedule we have. I'm sorry, but you can't convince me of that.
I disagree.
And it is going to be chalked up as a failure of a season if we do not get to a bowl
It's
game.
only an easy schedule if your team is really good.
No, it's not. It doesn't need to be really good. It needs to be mediocre to be 6-6. It needs to be mediocre to be 6-6.
I disagree.
That's fine. That's why we talk.
So one more thing that I want to point out before we jump into the questions, and I just noticed this as
I actually have one more thing too, but go
looking
ahead.
at the depth chart for Minnesota. They don't have.
Did they have a depth chart out?
It's the one that's listed on
Okay.
Our Lads.
Oh, okay. That's a predictive depth chart, but yeah.
They have one player who doesn't have at least 4 years under his belt in college on their offense.
Yeah.
Fucking insane. You were talking.
I think 4 of them are transfers, though. 4 or 5 of them are transfers.
let's see, 1, 2, only 2, and
Well,
3.
wait. They have one guy with that has less than 4 years?
Correct.
Okay. Because I know one of their transfers, wide receivers, I guess he's a junior, and, with the whole COVID shit.
That's my thing,
we've talked
though.
about that too many times.
You were talking before we started. It's like
Yeah.
they're just showing number of years in college because they have so many players here. As I look down their line, it's senior, redshirt senior transfer, redshirt junior. The whole list is redshirt junior or senior.
Well,
plus.
one of their big wide receivers who's coming back off of an injury, he's going to be in his 7th year. Chris Ottman-Bell. So, yeah.
I like that our defense is the one that's showing up to play for sure because it looks like their offense is the one with experience.
I mean, it has experience, but it also, having a brand new quarterback, he did play a little bit last year, and you also have their offensive line is not experienced. They're losing their 3 interior linemen.
guys.
The quarterback is the only position that doesn't have 4 years.
True in the system,
They're not
playing.
starters.
So like the offensive line is only returning 49 starts as a whole.
Oh shit!
So
To the 113 Nebraska has.
yeah, and like last year, I think Minnesota's offensive line had like 180 returning starting last year, and now they're at like 49. So I mean, experience on the roster, yes. Experience playing, different conversation. So I mean, I guess we'll
It's
see.
old men is what I'm concerned about.
Oh yes, I agree. So speaking of our defense, curiosity question, and but before I even ask the question, I'm kind of going to answer it. I don't think this is 100% an issue. Just curious on what your guys' thought is. Is two parts to this. One, and it was brought up in the press conference today, but I was going to ask the question even before the press conference happened. Do you think it's a big deal? So again, in the PJ Fleck press conference a couple of days ago, I watched it yesterday, and he said all the right things where he said with the 3-3-5, with the new defense that Nebraska's bringing in, PJ Fleck said, we're running blind right now in preparing for their defense. I think that's a little bit of an overstatement because it's still football and things and whatever else. But Minnesota played this Syracuse defense with the 3-3-5 literally in the bowl game last year. They won 28-20. Now, granted, they didn't have Tony White as far as the defensive coordinator because he was already here.
They did have one of his assistants, though.
I'm getting
now
there.
on staff with Minnesota.
I'm getting there. So it's not like Syracuse changed their defense for the bowl game. They were probably still running the tendencies and everything else like that. So do you think that plays a factor that Minnesota and Ethan Kaliakmanis played in the bowl game? So granted, he was only 7 of 9 passing for 80 yards, so it's not like he lit up the world, but that's also Minnesota's offense. Do you think that plays a factor that they were able to see the 3-3-5 defense literally, 8 months ago? Also, what you were just alluding to, they brought in their co-defensive coordinator and defensive back coach that was under Tony White for the last 3 years that Tony White was at Syracuse. Do you think that plays a factor in Minnesota preparing for Nebraska, their offense against our defense?
I think it's super similar to a great boxer preparing to fight another great boxer for a title fight. They both have all the film on each other. They both know all of each other's tricks, because in this instance, you're looking at, just from the Minnesota perspective is basically what I'm talking. You're looking at it.
That's
it's
what
essentially
I'm asking too,
going to be the same scheme. Tony White was not involved in preparing that team for playing Minnesota, no. But those coaches were all still there. They were going to run it the same way Tony White probably would have, for the most part. I mean, you never know what he was going to do. But they basically did prepare for this defense already. At the same time, Tony White knows that. Tony White has a game film against of his defense with players that he's very, very familiar with. It's not like watching, they played another team that has the same defense as mine. No, he knows that team inside and out. He can watch that game film. He can say, okay, well, this worked, this didn't work. I know what my personnel now is compared to what my personnel then was. This is why this didn't work. This is why this did work. Here's what we can and can't do. It's going to be a chess match, I think, from that perspective. It feels to me like we have a little bit more skill on our defensive side.
Yeah, personnel's way different.
With the back end, I'm just talking about comparing what Minnesota's going to have to throw at us that's at least known.
Even the personnel for Minnesota is way different, too.
Yeah, that is, too. Yeah, it seems like they're a little more talented at wide receiver.
Yes.
They did bring their tight end back, who was pretty legit last year.
Yeah, he's one of the best in the country.
But we don't know what they're going to have at running back. It seems like they're going to be good. Mm-hmm. They brought in that kid from, is it Western Michigan?
Western Michigan.
Western Michigan. I knew it was
he's at least
Western
a speed
schools.
guy.
Yeah. And they think they have two good guys.
He's another one of those redshirt transfer seniors.
Yeah.
And he had monster numbers last year, from what I understand. But again, we don't know what what is the Greek rifle?
Yeah.
Is he a falafel? Is he fucking really a rifle? I don't know. We're gonna find out.
It's funny that you bring up boxers watching film, because Bud Crawford was just on Joe Rogan, and I kind of had the same thought. Bud was talking about how, he'll watch a couple of fights, but then it really comes down to your ability to make changes when you're in the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so,
how many times have we talked about over the last few years what's going to happen at halftime?
Yeah. So do I think they have some sort of advantage because they've got his assistant on their staff and they have all of this extra footage? Sure. But it's really going to come down to both of the coaches in the game making adjustments to win the game.
Well, I mean, hell, you're talking boxing. It boils down to what everybody likes to bring up, the Mike Tyson quote. Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face.
Punched in the face. And that's all I want to do is watch us punch him in the face.
Yeah.
Take advantage of the inexperience, not necessarily inexperience as far as age, but inexperience as in playing together that offensive line has for Minnesota, and rattle the quarterback a little bit in the first quarter. That is going to be the easiest way for us to get a leg up in this game.
I'm not just interested in watching us punch them in the face, but I'm just as interested in watching us get punched in the face and see what we do then. Because we've seen it way too many times lately, us getting punched in the face, and we just run in the corner and hide.
Yep.
Like, we do not respond well getting punched in the face.
You know what the sad part is? We didn't even really run in the corner and hide. It was more of we just sat there in public crying.
And just let them continue to punch us.
Continue beating us up.
Yeah.
That's been the last fucking 6 to 12 years for Nebraska football.
It has.
Let's jump into the questions, unless Matt had anything else.
Nope, that's it.
Okay.
All right.
I'm fired up. I want to get into these fucking questions, man, because you know what? It's a new year for BJ.
I just wanted to be
I'm telling you guys right now, I'm calling it out. I am calling it the fuck out. I will have the best record in these prop bets this season.
And I will have the most positive one, apparently.
Yeah, he's the new positive boy. I'm the winner.
I'm calling it right now. You will not have the best record.
I will. I absolutely will.
Yeah, I was also just playing along with the joke.
Yeah.
Believe in me.
We'll see how you do on punt returns.
Oh, that question's coming, but maybe a little different twist on that question.
If you like this content, make sure you like, follow, subscribe, and tell a friend.
First question.
Just breathing heavy.
He's trying to fix something that's not broke.
First question is Jeff Sims' total yards, rushing and passing. 224.5. He averaged 224.7 in 3 seasons at Virginia or Georgia Tech. So, I mean, basically
Total,
whatever his average
this
is.
total yards?
Total yards for Jeff Sims, 224.5.
I'm going to take the over. Because it's a positive mentality. And I'm excited to see what our O-line can do. Honestly, I think a lot of what will happen in this game will happen in the trenches. And so if our O-line does well, he's going to have a great game.
How much do you know about Georgia Tech's offensive line?
Georgia Tech as a team was bad.
As a team was bad?
The team was bad.
You don't know much about
it. It was a garbage team.
Because that's my biggest thing is it seemed to me in listening to a couple other national guys that I've heard talk about stuff, and I specifically this week I'm saying this, we're recording on Monday. So today, I was specifically looking for Minnesota shows, bringing on national guys to talk about the game. And it's funny because just as cautiously, sometimes optimistic, but more pessimistic as a lot of the Nebraska people are right now, Minnesota guys seem to be the same way about their team. They're like, I don't know, we had to replace quite a bit.
They did.
A lot of unknowns, but Nebraska's unknown too, so maybe it'll be good. You never know. It's interesting to see.
Sounds like a lot of Midwesterners unwilling to commit.
It really does. It really does. It's interesting to me, but a lot of what I was hearing from their side of things and from the national guys that I heard say stuff is there's a lot of outsiders that think Jeff Sims is going to flourish in this system.
Yep.
Mostly because he has more around him now. And one of the things I heard, I think 3 different people say today was, this offensive line, as bad as they've been the last few years, they actually have a lot of experience returning. And is he going to get more time than he's ever had?
That's why I asked a few weeks ago, are we sleeping on this offensive line?
Yeah, and none of them, like we talked about that one day when the depth chart came out and it had all their starts returning listed there. I did a quick count on everything. It was like 113 starts on our offensive line. When's the last time we can say we had anything even close to that much experience coming back on the offensive line? And the big question mark is our German boy, who we have no idea what he was doing last year, all year long. When he was suspended.
But even 2 years ago, he was doing really well.
He was one of our best guys.
He was.
Yeah, he absolutely was. My question was he training all year last year? Did he take?
He was around the team all year.
Well, I know he couldn't practice with the team.
Well, I'm just saying he was around the team. That I don't know what he was doing during his off time, whatever. But the thing is, I look at it as no news.
If he comes back and he's just as good, we've got some good experience on that line.
I look at it as no news is good news with him because. Did you hear anybody talk about him this offseason?
No.
You heard about Piper. You heard about Corcoran, who's moving around because Prohaska's injured. You heard about Prohaska. You've heard a lot about Ben Scott. All that stuff. Obviously, Rule has been hyping up Benhart. You haven't heard a peep about Newelly.
No.
Maybe that's good.
And the people...
No news is good news.
Since we've seen the depth charts come out, some of the people that we haven't heard shit about all year long are top line on those depth charts.
Yep.
So, I don't know. I think you could definitely have been onto something with the offensive line. That's why I'm going to take a massive over on this. I think that if we're going to get to at least the 6-win mark, like I think, the offense is going to have to put up at least some yards. He's got to. What did you set the number at? 25.5.
So I'm not trying to do that sneaky thing that you always hate that I do, where I move the number and stuff like that. I will just say when I first put the question out, before I put the number on there, I was thinking roughly 250. But then when I looked at what his average was at Virginia Tech, seeing it was 224.7, I was like, well, let's just stick to that average. Do you think I should go up to 250?
I think I still take the over.
250 yards.
For the game.
Oh, for the game. Oh, my bad.
I was like, 2,500, that'd be a good
Jesus
game.
Christ.
Bro.
What was I thinking? Oh, my
If he goes for 2,500 yards, I'm going to buy him a Lamborghini.
motherfucker. And instantly in the Heisman conversation.
Yeah, no shit.
No, I think he wins it.
I'm pretty sure they just give it to him after the first
Well,
game.
we've never done this before, but we awarded a Heisman Trophy after the first week of contest. Welcome to college football, folks.
Do you think I should go up to 250 or just keep it at what his average
total
is?
yards? I think keeping it at what his average is, especially for this first couple games.
Yeah, I know.
Because we don't know what the offense is going to do.
The beginning of the season doing these questions is always really hard.
I feel like you're going to see a lot of play action / option type plays to get the offense off the ground, mostly because we don't know what we're going to have on the outside, deep threat wise. I think you're going to see a lot of dink and dunk stuff. But I also think we're going to use his legs more early in the season than we will late, especially as it's still warmer outside. And if throwing a little bit of option play in there for him and a couple of the different running backs that we have in that giant stable of a running back setup, I think you got to easily go over for him. Because he's almost going to have to default to at least 175 to 200 passing yards. And, I mean, that's only one decent ball away from being at 250 by itself.
I agree.
And I'm expecting him to be anywhere between probably 25 to 60 yards on the ground every game.
Yeah. I'm definitely going with the over. That's, again, kind of why I was asking, do you think I should move the number up?
I don't think it would even change it, at least for me.
I honestly, I might, even at 250, I might still go with the over. I agree. I think it'd be a little more questionable. One of the big things, and I agree with you as far as you talked about the passing numbers, get at probably approaching about 200, even though we have questions on who the playmakers are at wide receiver. Minnesota is they had, of their top 4 cornerbacks last year, one guy got drafted, one transferred, and one decided not to play football anymore. So they only have one of their top 4 cornerbacks coming back this year. So it's like...
That's helpful.
That is a big question mark for them on their defense.
Especially and if you're going to look at rushing yards for him, we need to find a way to stretch the field out a little bit.
Yes.
And we don't really have that, at least as far as we know so far.
Yeah.
So if he's going to get some good rushing yards, it's going to be taking advantage of the lack of experience.
Yes, and I think that's going to help our wide receivers with the lack of experience that we have.
Yeah.
To be able to hopefully take advantage of that for not just Nebraska, but also for Jeff Sims and his numbers. But yeah, I'm taking the over as well.
I have not given an answer yet. I'm actually going to take the under.
I thought you were like hammering me over.
You said way over.
Yeah, you did.
I did not say way
literally,
over.
Okay. Well, if you want to change, that's fine.
When I referenced way over, I thought we were talking about a season total.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Nope.
I was saying
2,500.
I think
That's where he got the 2,500.
if we're gonna be exceptional this year, he's gonna have to be over that 250 mark. There's just looking at his games last year.
Yeah.
I mean, in Clemson, he didn't hit it. Against Western Carolina, he didn't even get close. Ole Miss, he didn't even get close.
Well, like I said, he averaged 224.7 in his 3 years.
You know what?
Yeah,
Just
that's
let,
why I
let him
just-
take the under.
No, that's fine. I'm just
UCF, he went over it because he had a great passing game. He went 21 for 32, but against Pitt, who didn't have a good defense last year, didn't get there. Against Duke, barely got there, but he had 95 yards on the ground. Virginia, he didn't even get close. It looks like he probably went out halfway through the game. I'm going with the under.
Okay.
Mostly because I'm still not convinced that our offense is going to be able to move the ball other than through our running back and short passing game.
Okay.
I think he's going to see probably 50 or 60 yards carrying, but I could see it being a 180, 170-yard passing game for him with everything dink and dunk over the middle.
Well, 60 yards plus 180 is over.
60 yards plus 180 is not over.
Over 224 and a half.
I thought you said 250.
No, I asked if I should move it up to
224 and a
250.
half.
That's why
Okay, I'll go over.
You got to listen. You got to listen to the show.
I'm getting too excited. See, this is what happened. Normally I sit here and I don't, we decided to bring computers on the show. Normally I sit here and I don't do that. I just go off gut instinct. Now I'm analyzing stats and I'm just not listening to shit.
By the
Ask
way,
my wife. I'm not good at listening.
ask anybody's wife. They'd say that.
Bro.
As the divorce guy here.
Get me started.
What is it? Which one?
Exactly. By the way, Pittsburgh had the
23rd best total defense last year, so they didn't have a terrible defense. But anyway, this is another number that I kind of moved around. I initially put it at 99.5 just because I was like, is he going to get to 100? So Gabe Ervin rushing yards, but I moved it down to 79.5. So is he going to get to 80?
Way the fuck over.
I moved it down because...
Hey, he's not talking about the whole season. He's just talking about this game.
Oh, damn it. I was averaging 10 yards that game.
I moved it down because the most he's ever had, and I know he's only played a limited number of games, the most he's ever had is 60 yards against Oklahoma last year.
How big was Gabe Ervin 2 years ago when he won the starting job?
Probably 215. Now he's like 225.
You really think there's only a 10-pound difference between the pictures of him 2 years ago and now?
He's definitely leaner.
He's definitely leaner, but he looks way bigger.
Yeah, you can.
I don't know, man. The way that either one of two things is true.
But the other question is, they've talked about how they want to run 2 to 3 running backs. Is he going to get enough carries to get over there? That's the other question.
They've talked about how they're going to run 2 running backs. One as a third down because Ramir Johnson's a true third down.
All I'm saying is Satterfield said we are running 2 to 3 running backs.
I totally get it.
That's all I'm saying.
I totally get it. I fully expect Gabe Ervin to be in there for probably 20 touches. 18 to 24 touches is going to be
well, then
spot.
If you're so emphatic on way the fuck over, I'm going back up to my 100, so 99.5 yards.
Well, that's bullshit.
I don't
Even
give a
where
shit.
It was a decent number.
Definitely going over on the previous
Here's why. I'm gonna tell you why. Here's why it's
what
a
the easy
decent
betting
number.
odds.
Well, then I'll cut the difference and I'll go 89.5 to 90.
Why do you got to move it?
Because I just did.
What's the
make the
Vegas,
numbers.
What's the Vegas over under?
I don't know. I doubt Vegas has Gabe Ervin rushing yards.
Oh, absolutely they do. They have props on every game.
Okay.
So here's my thing. Gabe Ervin's going to be anywhere between 18 to 24 touches. Attempts, rushing the ball is what my assumption is. And if he averages 4.2, let's call it an even 20. That's 80, and 82, 83 right there by itself.
Okay, well, now the number's 89.5. Make it harder for you.
Goalpost is moving.
I'm still going to go over.
Okay.
I'm still going to go over. I think he is kind of going to be the superstar of the day. I think that if we're looking at this game just in general, it's probably going to be the 2 running backs dueling it out. Like I have Gabe Ervin down as kind of my pick for MVP of this game.
Okay.
Over.
On the offense, anyway.
Over, and I think the more I think about it, I see a 450-yard offensive game for us. We're going to get there
fucking Christ.
pretty easy on the ground. So I'm going over.
Wow. I'm going to, since we moved it up to 89.5, or I moved it up, we didn't. I'm going under only because I think he's going to split carries.
With who, though?
Anthony Grant and Ramir Johnson.
If Grant drops one ball, he's not going back in the game.
Okay, well, until he does, like I said, I'm going off Satterfield saying we're running 2 to 3 running backs.
He's also our stud from last year. He's going to get some carries.
I get that, but he's third on the depth chart for real because he can't hold on to the ball in practice.
Yeah, but also rule says when he does, he's one of the
electric,
best. He's the best running back we got, basically.
That's not what he said.
Well, I mean,
he's going to get a shot in there.
Talked about how great he was. So, I mean, I just think that there's going to be a bunch of guys carrying the ball, and I don't know that he'll get enough. And again, this is game 1. I need to see it first.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, and hell, even
that's why I'm claiming ignorance in my.
Even 90 yards, if he gets just barely over on the 89.5, that's 30 more than he's ever had in a college football game.
Sure.
So that's what I'm going off of. Third question, which involves the number 3. Nebraska third down conversions. Minnesota was one of the best in the entire country last year. They were 6th, allowing only 27.8% last year. Nebraska had 31.2 against Minnesota last year, and they averaged 40 for themselves all of last year. So I put the number at 35%.
Going back to that Cover 3 podcast, they talked about how Minnesota's defense was actually ranked
great.
They were ranked 5th for some stat. I didn't remember what stat it was.
They were one of only 4 teams to allow less than 14 points a game.
Scoring efficiency.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Yeah, they were fantastic.
And three of those.
Everybody talked about Illinois' defense because they were the big surprise. They were the big shocker.
Well, 3 of those 4 teams that allowed less than 14 points a game were all in the Big Ten West. Iowa, Illinois, and with Minnesota.
Playing against atrocious offense.
Exactly.
In super slow trudging offensive line games.
Yes.
That's really funny. That's going to be a big change in the Big Ten.
Also, another thing that I saw was as great as Minnesota's defense was last year, they played one team that had an offensive rating of better than 45.
Jesus Christ.
So they didn't really play a whole lot of great defense or offenses.
No, yeah.
They still did the job. They played really well last year. Not trying to trash any of that, but competition level helped their numbers greatly.
So what did you set the number at?
35% for Nebraska
35%.
third down conversions.
That's a major focus for Rule. I think
It's one of our season prop bets. That's why one of the reasons why I put it on here.
I think I have to go over on that.
Okay.
I think I have to go over on that, and I think it's probably going to be pretty significant.
I think it's going to be really close to that number.
Because I think it's going to be so close, I'm taking the under.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be the positive boy.
Man, this was one of the ones
35 feels high.
It does. I think we're just going to hit the 33 and a third %. So I'm going to go with the under as well.
I also don't know how many third downs we're going to have.
Why?
We're going to score a lot.
I was going to say efficient or
Oh, yeah.
just not have the ball
450
enough.
yards. We're going to score a lot.
Okay. Well, that's true. I guess I forgot. You said we're going to have 450 yards.
Matt's looking for us to score at least 35 in this game.
Or 2,500 like you think.
Hey-o. Coming in hot.
I'm just saying, there's a Lamborghini in it for him.
All right. This is a variation on the old reliable question with punt return yards. I'm not doing number of returns of 10-plus yards. I'm doing total punt return yards by Billy Kemp himself.
For the game?
For the entire game.
Okay.
That's such a bullshit question.
Why?
Because he might not even be returning punts.
Well, he's at least going to be the
put
guy.
It on the game, dude. That's we don't need to have an obscure question like this.
Whatever it is, I'll take the over.
I knew you were going to do that.
This was a sucker bet.
That was
for
one
Matt.
of the other reasons why I did
this
that.
is a sucker bet for Matt. This has nothing to do with. This isn't even like realistic talking right now. This is.
I mean, he's listed as the guy that's going to do punt returns.
Yeah, but it's also been questioned by Foley literally the last 2 weeks.
MJ Sherman is listed as not being in the game, so I don't.
Okay.
I don't like. I would take the under on that. I don't care what you set it at, just because I don't think he's going to be back there returning punts.
I'm curious.
Okay.
What is it set at?
I'm putting it at 29.5.
29.5 yards
Total punt return yards.
Oh, I'm taking the under.
in this game.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Yeah,
under.
That's bullshit. I'm taking the under.
Absolutely, you could set it at 5, and I'm
Sorry,
setting
Billy.
Well, I'm on Billy Kemp's bandwagon. I'm taking the over.
Shut the fuck up!
convinced
No,
him.
you're not.
I literally just typed it out.
Billy Kemp, he's running one back to the house.
Look, if he does, I'll be so glad to be wrong.
Absolutely.
But
You know me, man. I like being wrong about any of these when I pick against Nebraska.
shit.
Well, you very rarely pick against Nebraska, so
Turn the
watch.
tide this year,
You
bro.
watch, we're gonna have one to the house, and it's not gonna be Billy.
that. Yeah, that's exactly what it's
Who's
going
the
to
other
be.
guy? Tommy Hill? Is that who they're talking about?
That's who I've heard. I forget who was on the depth chart as far as number 2 on that, but that's who I had heard a handful of times was Tommy Hill. But we shall see.
Pull up the depth chart right here. Got it.
Got it?
Un momento.
Who's at the bottom of the punt returns?
All they put on here is Billy Kemp.
Yeah, that's all
Okay.
I'm seeing too.
See, he's the guy. He's getting over 30
Oh, dude, they're going to put Ramir Johnson in on
kick
kick
returns.
returns.
Yeah. Ramir and Emmett. Johnson and Johnson back there.
Johnson. Baby smooth back in the end zone.
All right, question number 5. Yards per pass attempt allowed by Nebraska. 8.7 for Minnesota. I put it at 8.7 because, let's see, I just scrolled by the wrong thing. Minnesota has averaged 8.7 against Nebraska the last 2 seasons. Nebraska allowed 6.6 total on last year on defense. Minnesota, they've actually, as few times as they throw the ball, the last 2 seasons they've ranked 125th and 127th in pass attempts. But 5 of Fleck's 6 seasons at Minnesota, he's been in the top 3 in the Big Ten in yards per attempt. Now, granted, that is predicated off their running game. That's why, but when they do throw the ball, which is very limited, they get chunk yards.
I am so excited for the confusion that this defense will cause. I'm taking the under.
Okay.
Big time. I think not only are we going to get to the quarterback, which will help because there could be some interceptions in there, but also I don't know that they're going to be all that wide open downfield. I think they're going to have to do a lot mid-range, short range. I'm taking the under big time.
Okay.
I actually am going to counter your point and say that I think we have some inexperience at our corner positions, at least some youth at our corner positions, just due to guys that we've lost.
Not at corner, at safety we do. Yeah. Because we got Malcolm Hartzog and Quentin Newsom.
Oh, you're right. You're right. We have a lack of experience on our back end, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. And I truly feel like they're gonna get some opportunity. This is also yards per attempt, right? Not yards per catch.
Yards per attempt, yes.
Yeah, I've got to take the over just simply because of his history and because of the wide receivers that they have in there now.
Yeah.
They had dudes transfer in they're deep threat guys. That's what they are.
Yeah, they've got one guy, Corey Crooms, who was a second team all conference in the MAC last year. Elijah Spencer, who was Conference USA Freshman of the Year 2 years ago. He was also honorable mentioned, which was kind of weird because he had the best numbers on the entire Charlotte team, and a different Charlotte receiver got second team all conference, whatever. And then Chris Ottman-Bell, who is their 7th year receiver. And they have one of the best tight ends in the entire country with Brevin Spanford. So they have weapons. They're very high on their wide receiver room. And they have the two-headed people that they have at offensive coordinator. They have 2 co-coordinators. And they've basically been challenged to open up the offense a little bit more. They are going to run the ball. That's, in the core of what PJ Fleck likes to do. But they've kind of been like, let's make this offense a little more not predictable, I guess.
To Matt's point, though, and I will say this again, kind of reiterating what I said at the beginning of the show, if we can come out in the first quarter and punch them in the mouth a couple times, get to the quarterback, sack him a couple times, maybe even rattle him up a little bit, they are going to have to revert to a lot of dink and dunk short stuff. So, I don't know. I could be just talking myself out of it, but I'm still going to stick with the over.
I'm going to go with the over only because of the quantity of players that they have to be able to catch the ball. And we've talked about this before, that this defense of Tony White, and I struggle to not call it a 3-3-5 because we've talked about it 100 times. Where they're not going to just line up in 3-3-5. It's a positionless defense, all those things.
It's going to be more of an amoeba, honestly.
They're going to give up big plays periodically. So that's why I'm going to go with the over. I think that some of those big plays are going to offset what the actual...
You think Minnesota is going to expect big plays?
No, but I think that they're going to attempt them, and I think that maybe the defense is going to open themselves up to give up a couple of those. So that's why I'm going to go with the over on that one. Number 6.
They're going to take some shots early.
That's kind of...
they're going to come out and they're going to rifle a couple down there.
I know.
Early.
I'm going to take some shots early.
We're definitely doing that.
Fuck yeah, we are.
Total field goals made by both teams. Both teams, well, I know Nebraska has Bleak Road and experience. All signs are kind of pointing towards Alvano probably being the guy. But also Minnesota's bringing in a new guy as well.
Did you listen to the press conferences today? It sounded...
Tomorrow, it sounds like Rule is going to announce who the starting kicker is.
It sounds like he's going to make the announcement, but... There was a heavy leaning, it sounded like, by Foley towards Alvano.
Yeah.
He basically splooged on the backside of the fucking stand on how Alvano's been kicking.
Yeah.
None of us are really shocked by that.
No.
How did he say it?
I mean, I feel bad for his back.
He says just the power that he kicks with. I was like, I don't know how you get me excited about a kicker, man, but you're doing it.
But Minnesota is also bringing in a brand new kicker as well, so that's why I'm doing field goals made by both teams combined. Minnesota averaged 1.4 attempts last year. Nebraska averaged 1.1 attempt last year. I'm putting the number at 3.5. Made field goals by both teams combined.
I'll take that. I'll take the over on that.
I was also taking the over. I thought you were going to put it at 4.5.
Okay, so we'll go.
No, you don't need to go fucking moving it.
I initially put it at 4.5.
Now he wants to take it under.
No, but I was
he's going to take it under.
I was arguing in my mind about 4.5 because I figured that's where it was going to land.
Yeah, 2 and 2 makes sense to me. That's why I go over on 3.5. I don't want it at 4.5 because I don't want to take the under.
I didn't say I was moving it. I'm talking you through this.
I thought you were
just
saying
relax.
You were like, okay, I'll move it.
But also,
I'm
going over.
I'm typing in your guys' predictions.
but also, I'm moving it up to 4.5.
Yeah.
No, I initially put it at 4.5.
4 1/3.
But I thought to myself, not very often do you see 5 field goals made in a game. And then I was just like, so I kind of like the under is kind of easy to take 3 or take 4 or 3, below.
Yeah, there's also a very large expectation that this is going to be a game basically played between the 20s. We're not expecting a lot of super deep drives and a lot of scoring in this game. The over-under has moved all the way down to, I think, 43.5.
43.5, yeah.
And it started at 49.5 or 50.5.
One of my biggest questions is about our red zone
That was
offense.
just last week.
No, I think it started at 46.
No, but I'm saying just last week when we did our schedule breakdown with Elijah,
it was, like
still at
45.
like 46 or 45. Yeah. And so, it keeps moving down. The one thing I think is going to play a factor in this that a lot of people aren't really thinking about, weather conditions are going to be almost perfect.
Well, wind gusts could go up to 30 miles an hour, but we'll see.
I didn't see the wind part, but it's supposed to be like 78 at game time, and that's 7 o'clock. So it's going to be, we're talking halftime. It's going to be 70 degrees outside. It's going to be fucking beautiful
As a fan
football weather
in the stadium, I'm very excited.
I'm as a player on the field, I think you're excited for anything that's not over 85.
Especially after this week.
Yeah, no shit. So I don't know.
I think 3.5 is the good number to get play on both sides. That's why I'm keeping it.
I do too. I think I still take the over just simply because I, unlike Matt, don't think we're going to have 420 or 450 yards of offense, and I think it's going to be a more of a defensive battle because everything that I've heard from the Minnesota side of all their local media, they're more stout on their defense, just like Nebraska is right now. They have question marks all over the field on offense. They feel good about the people that they have, but they don't know what they're working with, and so they're strong on their defense. I heard one of the Minnesota guys today say, if I'm looking at all the units on both sides of Nebraska and Minnesota, the strongest unit on the field on Thursday night is going to be the defense from Minnesota. That makes me think, okay, cool. Well, we actually trust our field goal kicker, and we are going to take points.
Maybe.
We're going to take points.
We haven't seen him yet. I can't say we trust him.
I'm assuming the coaches are going to trust the field goal kicker, and that we're going to go out there and we're going to take points where we can get points in a low-scoring game.
Yeah.
That's what makes me think it's going over.
To completely agree and argue with your point, I think we're going to move the ball quite a bit. I don't trust anything that we will do in the red zone yet.
I trust our red zone better than anything else.
I think we're going to get into field goal position, gaining yards. You know what I'm talking about. And then kick a field goal. So I'm taking the over 2.
Okay.
80-yard drives at a time.
I'm only going with the under because of what my score prediction is going to be. I can't really go with the over with what my score prediction is.
All right.
And I'll give that
a little bit of foreshadowing.
Yeah. So it's kind of like if I'm basically predicting my score having 3 field goals in
17-14.
How can I? Well, I just said 3 field goals in it. That's not 17-14, but
69.
69. Nice. So I can't really take the over on this question. Last question I have, very simple, straightforward question. Luke Reimer tackles, 9.5.
Got to take over on that. I think it's going to be a big game for him, and I took him getting over his 95 for the season, so I gotta give him a good start out the gate.
Makes sense.
That's just so much experience on their O-line.
Not on their O-line.
They
Again, they're
don't
only
have
returning
hardly
49
They're all
starts.
old.
It doesn't matter if they're old.
All right, you talked me into
49
it.
starts.
I'll take the over, too.
Okay.
They're all old and up till now haven't been good enough to get on the field.
Well, they've had really good players in front of them.
I'm just saying.
I mean, it's not really that they haven't been good enough.
I'm not confident in my answer, but I'll take the over.
Okay. I think this is going to sound like I'm trashing John Bullock, who's taken over for Henrich, at least for this game. I think if Henrich was there, I think he'd take away some tackles from Reimer. I think Bullock in his first real action, especially as a starter, I'm not saying he's going to play bad or anything like that. I think Reimer's going to take over some of that stuff, so that's why I'm going to take the over on that one.
My assumption is he is absolutely going to rock
Bullock?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
You don't get in the single-digit club, and you don't get in the black shirts.
I'm only going off of experience. That's the only part of this.
yeah,
I'm not trying to trash him
totally get it.
whatsoever.
I'm simply saying in this case, I don't think he collects the accolades he has this offseason without being ready to fucking punch somebody in the mouth.
Yes, I completely agree. I like his potential. I like what he's been doing all year, or all camp and all that stuff. But I'm just going to go with the experience to start off the season.
Cool.
Those are all the questions I got.
That's all you got?
Yep.
Well, the only thing we have left is to pick the game. The spread on the game is at an even 7 right now. It's kind of bounced around.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It opened at 6.5. It went down to 6.
I thought, didn't it go up to 7.5 for a bit?
It went up to 7.5 as of earlier today.
Okay.
There has been a ton of money pour in on the Minnesota side of things, which is why those points push up on the Nebraska side. I think the Nebraska faithful that is typically heavy in the betting game is very skeptical about this first game. And they're kind of saving their pennies to wait and see what it's going to look like. I think it's a little bit of a fugazi number, if you will. Because you got to assume an extra 3 points at home for the home team. I don't know. A whole touchdown beating us in what I think is going to be a low-scoring game is going to be tough. I'm going to say it the exact same way that I said it on the schedule predictor. I'm taking Nebraska with the points, but I still think we lose a close one.
Okay.
Heartbreaker.
I'm taking Nebraska with or without the points.
So, sorry, real quickly. You said heartbreaker. You think
it's
Minnesota scores late to break our hearts, or
give everyone that doesn't know football well enough to put an eye test on and see that there is progress, that feeling of we're right back to where we were with Frost.
you think it's like a mistake?
It's going to be it's going to be a pick 6 or a
late fumble
6 or
not even 6, just a fumble
some sort of
give the ball back
big mistake at the end of the game.
We have the ball to be able to score to take the lead, but we fumble it, and then Minnesota just has to kneel on it, type stuff. Or
no, I think it's going to be even worse than that.
Okay.
There's going to be something catastrophic happen, and it's going to cause the loss.
Okay.
And it's going to make everybody feel like we're just continuing the Frost era.
Okay.
He sounds real jaded right now.
I am.
I just
And he's the one that calls me negative all the time.
I gotta say, I love everything that we've been seeing in this preseason stuff. Just the way that Rule has the team ready to go, and to be teammates for each other. I don't see them making the same kind of mistakes, and so I'm expecting a solid Husker win on Thursday.
Like double-digit points?
No, not necessarily, but just controlling the game and not being uncomfortable at the end of it.
Or maybe a late score for Minnesota to make it a one-score game type.
Yeah, something like that. That just not hitting 2 minutes in the fourth quarter and being like, well, we're going to shoot our pants at some point.
Like being up a lot and then having a blocked punt against Iowa, and then all of a sudden, and everybody in the stadium going, we're going to lose this game.
I don't even want to go back there.
No, I'm just saying.
My nuts were in my gut like I was getting pulled over in that game. It was bad.
I am going with my score is 20-17. Like I said, 3 field goals. I think I would say I typically would. When we did our show with Elijah, I said when we talked about the over/under total being so low at like 45-46, I was like, hammer that under. At 43.5, I don't know if you hammer the under.
Yeah,
because literally
it's
one more
way
touchdown on
tougher.
20-17 makes it the over. So it's like, I don't know. Hey, granted, still my prediction is under, but like you talked about, a fumble 6, pick 6 towards the end changes that total completely. So I'm not necessarily saying I don't really know one way or the other as far as.
Well, my score. You're worried about taking the under. My score is 21-24.
Okay. So yeah,
with Minnesota winning.
That's
And I'm thinking more towards 27-28-20.
Yeah.
So I think we're all kind of in the same area there, which is why I think the over-under is in a good spot.
I think Elijah said it last week that first one to 21 wins, and I said first one to 20. That's kind of why my score is 20-17. I agree with that aspect. Even if it goes over that, I think first team to 20 is going to win this game.
My biggest thing is you see more mistakes in the early season, which allows for more offense in the early season. So I'm going to take the over on this one.
The other thing that I think we haven't really talked about, and I'm sorry if you
you're good.
Another point on that, but
I just didn't tell you who I thought was going to win yet. But
looking at some of the
no, we're good.
You're going to say that right at the end. That'll be the button. Looking at some of the stuff that some of the third down conversion rates and things like that, some of the field goals and things like that, those totals I think are going to look a little different this year than they have in the past, just simply because of the new time clock rules and the fact that the ball's not stopping every first down anymore. It's going to run up to the 2-minute mark just like it is in NFL. Yeah. I think that's going to shorten games, especially in the Big Ten, way more than they expect it to. That's going to be a game changer, I think. And it could actually, in this, at least the first half of the season, while the offense figures things out, it could actually be kind of helpful for us.
Yep.
So it'll at least help our defense sit on the sideline a little bit more than what I think our offense is going to allow.
I hope that we can control the ball like that.
Yeah.
Control the ball, control the clock, all that stuff. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that Minnesota has done. I mean, they've led the conference in rushes attempts per game, and their time of possession has also been skyrocket. They control the ball. That's what Nebraska needs to learn how to do.
If you can try and limit a Minnesota team like this to 2 possessions a period, 2 possessions a quarter, you're going to have a very good shot at winning that game, especially if you don't turn the ball over.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm looking at. Matt, do you have any final thoughts before Jed makes his prediction for the Nebraska to win?
I didn't say that.
Fucking Husker win. Let's go. What's up?
So I said at the very beginning that, maybe, our predictions that we had last week was going to be different than what we do this week. And, so far you guys both have the same prediction. I predicted last week that Nebraska wins this game.
He did.
And like I said, I think it's going to be 20-17 as far as the score. I picked Nebraska to win last week. I'm picking them again this week. Let's go. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Go Big Red, bitches.
Go Big Red.
And this may be the most unbelievable night in Cornhusker football history.